Item number 3, lease extension and carving request for Taupo Bungee. Right, who's in? Mr. Nathan Mori. Good afternoon, Nathan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. I think we're here to discuss the Taupo Bungee. They've asked for a 7-year lease extension and also some minor variations to the lease document as well as for the carvings. We'll take the first one, the 7-year lease extension. That will take them out to 33 years, which is the maximum under the Reserves Act, and they have been granted extensions before, so hopefully you're familiar enough with who they are and what they do to understand if you want to provide that for them. The variations to the lease were just some minor things to clarify the use of the lessee's facilities, providing public toilets in particular. I don't think that that's probably their role to provide public toilets for the council, so we'd like to take that out of the lease, and also just to take out an ambiguous clause about providing 40% of the lease rental for that park. The clause isn't really something that we've been able to enforce or do much with, and there's a little bit of ambiguity in the writing, so council would like to take that out. There's been a lot of back and forth discussion between council and representatives of the bungee. It's not all included in the lease report. That would be a lot of attachments, but yeah, when I came on board and reviewed all the files, that was all clear what was intended there. And probably one of the most interesting things is the carvings. We were approached by the Taupo Bungee, and I think we've got the representatives here today.
Good afternoon, guys and girls. Nice to see you all. Sorry, I see you all.
So if you have any further questions, I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any specifics on that.
Yeah, sure. So we've got David Brown, we've got Darren McClutchy, and so the ladies. Renee Kiwi, yes. Nice to see you. Okay, cool. So carvings, yep.
Yes, so the carvings that came to us with a proposal, the walkway which leads from the collection point up to the main buildings for the bungee, down by the river, which is also used as a public walkway for people to get all the way down to Hoka Falls. That is a little bit prone to tagging and vandalism, and they thought if they commissioned some carvings there, it would reduce that as well as provide a really nice piece of public art for Taupo. So they have asked Matahi Brightwell, who I think everybody is aware has done the Mine Bay carvings, if he would like to be the artist involved in that, and our understanding is that he's agreed and going through the concept plans there. From council's point of view, or officer's point of view, we think it's probably a reasonable thing to do, and it's a nice thing for the community to have if we can get it done in the right way and everybody has an understanding. So you'll see in the resolution that we think it's probably appropriate, if we do approve it, to make it subject to an MOU which council approves, which would just cover all the fine details and hopefully prevent any misunderstandings in the future. So I think in the attachments there's some explanation of what the carvings are about, but I'm sure Sonia and the bungee representatives can explain a bit more on that if you'd like a little bit more.
Okay, thanks, Nathan. Perhaps is any initial queries on the lease scenario? Councillor Johns?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick questions for me. One was just a point of clarity. The resolution's got 2035, but Cargill Stent's letter for the 33-year extension goes to 37. Yep. So which is the correct date?
It's 2035. There was a slight I don't want to accuse the lawyers of making a mistake, but we went through all of when all the leases were signed. 2035 takes them up to 33 years, and we cannot go beyond that. So
no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that we were working from the right date. And just the second one was about this 40% of rental going towards the reserve. I'd like to know what TTH's views are on that, because I couldn't quite get a clear steer from the documents here, because this is a council request to take that clause out, but I was interested to know what the views were.
I'm sure they can answer, if you would prefer them to answer, or if you'd like me to.
Whichever.
My understanding, a lot of this was decided before I started working for council, so I can only go through the email trail that I found. I think Just long as it felt that so long as there was an understanding that the intent of that was that council would use money to improve the reserve as and when it came about, because I believe when they took over the space it was probably not in as good a shape as it is now. But it's just not really possible for us to do that much forward planning into always.
Has that been taking place? No? Have we done maintenance of that
No.
over the years?
No.
Or?
Well, we've done maintenance, absolutely. What's happened over the years is that Taupo Bungee have come in and suggested different projects in their mind, which covers the 40%. So some councils remember viewing platforms and other proposals that have been put forward. From an officer perspective, our response has always been, look, we spend a whole lot more actually than the 40% per year maintaining that reserve through mowing lawns and whatnot. So that's where the ambiguity comes from. And so I guess as a result of that discussion and the negotiations which have happened, that's where the agreement, in principle subject to your agreement, to remove that requirement, but in the same way remove the requirement for the Bungee to provide the public toilets, which was the quid pro quo. Then that provides a neutral position, but one that hasn't got a whole lot of interpretation issues around it.
I think we subsidise the car parking facilities and the entrance area with that 40% worship in the early days.
Okay, so it's a lot cleaner if we take it out. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And I would like to, because that's a council request, I would like to see that clause 28 in the resolution. So that it's inclusive of the resolution.
Okay.
Because that's the only council request. This will be the only opportunity we have to adjust the lease or any requirements of the lease. And as the lease goes for 33 years, it's the only opportunity we've got, Your Worship.
Can I also raise the question over clause 24? If you go to 3(1), it actually talks about the clause where it states this clause obliges council to spend up to 40%. If you go to 3(10) and actually look at the reinvestment by the lessor, it actually says we're mutually agreed. Now, I've taken this up with our legal beagle who may wish to make comment. It just seemed to be an incorrect statement that the agenda item says obliges versus mutually agreed. To me, they're two different things.
Well, it's been removed.
I
understand the background to it. It's simply that clause is drafted in the lease creates some ambiguity. Clearly, that clause says we mutually agree, but I think there's some uncertainty around when there was mutual agreement and when there wasn't. Right. That's the suggestion that you
Thank you. Could I therefore also, Mr. Chairman, support Councillor Hickling in regards of adding that clause 28? I've also had a 3 in the resolution to do with clause 24 and to amend clause 23. They're not in the resolution. So whether they need to be.
Yielding up. Do you need to put that
We don't need to, but if the councillors feel more comfortable with it, then we can.
Yeah, I would like to move that those clauses are included in the resolution.
23 and 20, what was the other one?
23.
28.
It's clause 24, 23 and 28.
Right.
23 is to amend. I'll second that.
Okay. All right. So
Just before we move on, just a query. I probably think that it's to do with the management plan. But the Taupo Bungee extended the car park into, as you can see, on the 3(11), you'll see the green line around the leased area. But we did extend that car park to an extension of the car park, but it's not within the lease agreement. But is that to do with the management plan of Sparthurban Park and Riverbank?
We'd have to look into that, Councillor.
Because this is the original lease area that was set up.
the green.
And we have extended. I just wondered whether this is the appropriate time to extend the lease area.
Can we have a look into that and come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we have a look into that?
But
It's up to you.
if it means we've got to review the management plan, then leave it as it is possibly.
My understanding for the management plan is that that area is designated for the adventure activities. So whether you think that the car park is actually specifically for the bungee and should be part of their lease, or whether it provides some wider public benefit.
So the request for the lease extension is pertaining to the green.
Yes, yeah. But you can see the extension of the car park.
Yeah.
Just a point.
Yeah.
While we're tidying things up, that's all.
All right, and so onto the carvings. There's no more question on the
Sorry,
list.
just
Councillor
through the
Johns.
chair, just to clarify, did TTH want to make any comments about the clause 23A being removed? Has it got any unintended consequences for you?
Well, I guess what we saw with that is we were looking for an offset. Obviously, we're giving up something on the lease there. So what we're looking to do is what we're hoping the council will do is see the need to improve the toilets up there and provide a public facility or some facility, or else we'll have to provide it and charge for the use of those toilets.
Okay.
We're close to getting a cost of having running because of running.
So that will be a request that will come in at some stage, or?
Yeah, sounds like, sorry, I was going to say, sounds like a long-term plan, sort of
Yeah.
discussion, that one. We might have to talk separately about that, I think.
So
Yeah, I just wanted to understand.
We were going to, and I think Clayton and Stent's letter suggests we leave any amendment to that 40% off at this point, because it needs to be a subsequent conversation, because there's some other developments proposing for next year which we need to go through your plan. So there's a bigger process to go through, and the main thing we wanted to do today was get permission to proceed with these carvings and
The lease extension.
About that, and also get that extension release, so we've got tenure of site so that we can actually go out on to planning and development.
Okay, all right, thanks, David. So
It's good to
perhaps that's
clarify.
for further discussion regarding the toilets at some stage, yeah. So the main point of today is extending the lease and the carvings. Yeah, okay. All right, carvings. Do the girls want to explain? Are they going to be another iconic tourist attraction like the Mine Day carvings?
Well, there's a lot of purposes to having these carvings done by Martin Brightwell. Obviously, we'd all like it to be a community asset, and he's agreed that that's how we view them. So not only will they be something for our local community to be proud of, but also incite more visitors to the area, adding to the core of activities and attractions here in Taupo. Obviously, it would be great to see it become part of Mate Māori Art Trail in the surrounding areas. So we've already got the Mine Bay artwork, which is coming up to 40 years, but he's also done carving for the eyesight, and he's looking at doing carvings in Takano Hotel and Museum as well, potentially. So this would just form part of that sort of Māori art trail as well. Ultimately giving people another reason to come here. And obviously, as Nathan also said, the current state of one of the rock faces that we're looking at, I don't know if you can see, but you can see that blue stuff is all graffiti. So, it'll basically just beautify the area and the walkway, which is satisfying as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, guys, on the carvings? Pretty exciting stuff. I'm sure it'll be great. So there's a recommended resolution. Nothing to add, Nathan. You got nothing more? Is that
No, I think that's
Yep.
covered it.
Suggested recommended resolution has been amended to include clause 20 something and
2328.
yeah, those clauses. So 1, 2, and then a new 3.
Yeah.
Happy with that, Councillor Pickwick?
Yes.
Yeah. So would someone like to move that resolution?
On this suggested resolution
Seconded by Councillor
with the
Bond.
amendment.
All discussion? All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Those against? Carried.